Welcome to another episode of the Reliever podcast with Louis de Barre and
up?
Willem Himpe. We've heard from some listeners that really liked our new format where we talk about a couple tweets that have been happening. That is very timeless, but as well that is going about the world going on today. And today we're doing the same, where we talk about 3 tweets. I feel like let's first, Louis, how has it been going the last couple of weeks? Everything going well?
Yeah, winding down. No releases. There's an app store freeze. We don't want to get important bugs in production this time of year. So
it's just enjoying the holidays the next week a bit.
Preparing some stuff.
And voila, for releasing it next year.
Yeah.
Perfect. Let's get on with the tweets. And the first tweet is actually from someone from as well the last episode, Naval, who tweeted, "Good platforms are invisible." And a very famous author replied on that, Nassim Nicholas Taleb, and he replied, "Technology is at its best when it's invisible," from its book Anti-Fragile. And maybe, Louis, let's start off with, what does it mean for technology to be invisible only when it's at its best?
Technology is at its best when it's invisible, because you don't think about it as technology. You don't think about it at all. The things that already work well, we take for granted, and we don't see them as technology. Could
you maybe give an example of what is today a certain
technology?
The
car, for example. Car is an old invention, and the Italian word for car is la macchina, the machine. So it used to be this mechanical invention that was technology with a lot of quirks and still some bugs to iron out. But over the years, it's been battle tested. We've made adjustments. We've iterated over the design. We've encountered all types of scenarios. Everything that can go wrong, somebody probably encountered it with their car, and we've got safeguards for it. And so now you don't think about cars technology. It's just part of your daily life, part of your routine. You don't think about it. It just takes you where you need to go.
So as well, if I understand it well, it's not like a certain technology is instantly invisible. It's kind of an iterative process.
Yes, because if you still think about it as technology, it means it's not ready, because there's still problems. And once you stop thinking about it, once you realize it's not really there, it's just solving your problem, then you continue. You don't have to think about, take it into account. You can just go on with your life and think about what you want to do instead of how to tweak or adjust something to get it to work.
Like what you said, after a certain time, certain technology had so many scenarios, so many different ways of using it, of breaking it.
That's right. The best ingredient is time. This is the same with software. The more time your product has been around, the more users have used it, then it's encountered all the stuff that can go wrong. People trying to misuse your product, find workarounds, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, okay. So time is the best recipe for products, but for many other things, I would say as well.
You don't have to wait 100 years.
Okay, you don't have to wait 100 years.
Out the door.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, let's maybe go to the next tweet, and this is from a special author. It's our co-host Louis, and you actually tweeted, "Iterating on the problem your product solves is more important than iterating on your solution." And I think the best way to start is maybe that you explain, why did you tweet this and what was the thought process behind it?
Iterating on the problem your product solves is more important than iterating on your solution. That is because the biggest trap, the biggest problem we see new startups make is that they have a solution in search of a problem. So that's the other way around. Usually you fall in love with a certain implementation, a certain product, because it feels good to build stuff. It feels like progress to show people, I'm making adjustments, I'm optimizing. But you have to be careful not to fall into the trap of not actually having a user need, a problem, a pain point. It's better to start by solving a problem of your own, problem of someone else, finding a real pain, and pushing down on it, really figuring out what is it exactly that is hurting people, and how can I alleviate that pain.
And it's kind of like, I can only talk about my personal experiences, but we with Relivo as well, you often kind of, it's easier to say, oh, let's add this feature, add that feature, instead of really getting the core right of what problem are we solving, because building and doing new things is easy, because it's often how I see it, it's how a company started. Oh, wouldn't it be nice if we do this, and then you start building it. But no, it's actually, that's not a really good way to start a company.
Yeah, building is fun, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter if you have super deluxe hammer with all the bells and whistles if there's no nails to use it on. And so even when that's actually not a good idea. If you're a great salesperson, you can probably sell the hammer when there are no nails, but it's bad if you have to really work for it too much. It's better to start from the problem and maybe solving it in a naive way, manual way, doing it yourself with pen and paper. You want to look for the cheapest solution, because the solution might change, or implementation might change. It could be software. You actually don't know that beforehand. Could be software, could be hardware, could be a mix of different companies, their solutions, human input. You don't know what that's going to look like, but the problem will stay the same. And so it's better to take a few days or a few months to really figure out, okay, is this really a problem, and am I solving this problem by doing it manually with pen and paper, following people, interviewing people, shadowing them, doing the whole process yourself, even if it's about software. Write it down, do it manually,
instead of kind of do it the way of just constantly working on the solution. No, focus on the problem, and then start with step one instead of creating something that no one will use. Okay, the third tweet of today is from Hiran Doshi. Please don't cancel me if I mispronounce your name, Mr. Doshi. But he tweeted, ML is moving from deterministic to probabilistic model. And that is a great leap forward. It may feel counterintuitive, but it's very difficult to be mostly right compared to absolutely right. And let's maybe break it down. At the beginning, what he says is, ML is moving from deterministic to probabilistic model, and this is a great leap forward. But first, deterministic. How did we get there?
Yeah, let's try to explain that concept first. So every software is a deterministic process, which means there's a series of steps, an algorithm, which is basically a recipe that the computer follows, a script that if you give it a certain input, if the input is the same, it will always give you the same output. So given a certain input, if you don't change anything, it will always generate the same output. And that's great. Like it's good that you can always,
because it's reliable. You can always be sure what you put in, and exactly know what's gonna come out.
Yep. But it can only solve a limited set of problems. Like chatbots, for example, cannot be programmed purely deterministically. Why? Because you'd have to program and feed all the possible questions and the answers to those questions beforehand, and that's an impossible problem, because the amount of questions I can ask and the wording is unlimited. So we need a different tool in our toolbox to solve that problem, and that's where probabilistic machine learning models come in.
And it's kind of very, what I would say, like he said in the tweet, it's counterintuitive, because I would say it's a step backward, because when it's deterministic, okay, I put this input and it's so much nicer that I know exactly what's going to be the output. And now it's like, I'm not 100% sure, because that output will be for 70% probable or probable will be for 70% accurate, and another one will be 30% accurate.
What is the trade-off we're making here? Well, we're trading accuracy, a bit of accuracy, and in exchange we can solve a whole different set of problems, which is learning. And it's very similar to the ways humans work. I cannot predict what answer you will give to my question, and you will also never really answer the same thing, even if I give you the same question. And that same thing goes for ChatGPT and other large language models. They actually cannot. They don't know how they got to the solution. There is no recipe. It's based on some training data.
It's kind of the next step forward in software, so we can really solve or maybe start solving problems similarly how people would solve them in their kind of little heads ourselves.
Yes, when we see something and we want to come to a solution, speak our mind, we make a lot of leaps, and those leaps are there because we learned certain things about how the world works. You see enough cats, you start to understand, okay, it has four legs, but nobody designed or taught us all of that. Like we learned to speak in a bottom-up fashion just by listening to other people. Nobody wrote the program with all the words that we could ever speak. It's a different kind of understanding, and yes, we will be wrong sometimes, and we don't know how exactly we got to the answer, but we can do a lot more.
Yeah, okay, that's a very good conclusion to end with. Louis, thank you for another episode about 3 tweets. Please, audience, give us a like, subscribe, give us good feedback, positive or negative. Anything will be good and will help us. And see you on the next episode. Bye bye.